A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
You know what I hate? I really hate people that do not know anything about politics, but they're very opinionated. We got this saying in Romania that the mother of stupid people is always pregnant. And I just see a lot of people watching the beautiful Kamala Harris explain about the political issues that are plaguing the United States, and people just do not comprehend what she is saying. They do not understand the institutions. Because you see, she was but the vice president. She had no power. Like, you do not understand. The vice president is like an honorary official position. Like, they do not have power. They cannot do almost anything. It's the vice president, right? Like, this was Joe Biden's administration. Kamala Harris was just like a symbol of hope, if you will, that one day things can be better. So, sure, like the Democrat Party, they did have the power to get Joe Biden to step out of the race. Even though, like, they're saying, yeah, like, there's this article in the Constitution that if we think that the president is not in charge of his mental faculties, we can actually oust him. And we did see how he managed himself at the debate. And because of that, it's obvious to everyone that he is not fit to be a president. So we're going to tell him that if he doesn't step out, we're going to oust him. But if he does step out, then we're not going to oust him. So it's kind of like Schrodinger's mental faculties, right? It's based on the Democratic Party's whim, where if the president plays ball with the Democrats, then he is in charge of his faculties. He does understand what's happening. But if he doesn't step out of the race and doesn't play ball, then all of a sudden he cannot lead. But like, this is the Democratic Party. Like, Kamala Harris had nothing to do with it. Like, the mantle of responsibility was just thrusted upon her. And the Democrat Party, they can fix the economy. They have the answers, because, like, at any point they could have just got rid of Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris, as vice president, would have become president, and she would have fixed the economy. But the Democratic Party didn't care about that. They only care about them losing the race. So, like, losing power is the priority, right? Like, they must not lose power. But if the country suffers economically, that's a different conversation. But rest assured, elections are coming. And now if you vote Kamala, it's going to be completely different. Because, again, she's not going to be the vice president anymore. Her hands are untied. She's actually going to be able to govern. Now, people are saying, okay, but is it the government's fault that the money was printed and it caused inflation? Like, why is she acting as if she is, from the outside? You do not understand, all right? Like, the government cannot possibly cause inflation. It never happens. Like, in the history of mankind, the government can never spend more than they can afford and print money. No. See, what happens is those greedy corporations, right? Like, those evil corporations, they conspire with each other to raise the prices. They're price gouging. So like, during the Obama years and during the Bush era, and also during the Trump era, like, the corporations didn't conspire. It's probably that they didn't have social media, they didn't know how, or they were afraid of Trump. But when they saw Kamala Harris, they didn't respect her. Why? Because, like, all American companies are misogynistic and racist, right? Like, it's a systemically racist country, systemically misogynistic country, systemically whatever evil you want. And they started talking with each other. They started conspiring. And they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to raise prices. But not yet. Not yet. Let's wait. Let's wait for the opportune moment. And they were waiting during the pandemic, right? And they could have raised the prices then. Because, like, everyone was stuck in their houses. And everyone was, getting told that they got to stay home and stay safe. And the only thing that brought happiness during those times was consuming, right? So, like, they could have raised prices then, but they didn't. They were like, wait for it. And when the government started printing money, that's when they price gouged. That's when they went for it, right? Because now you have the cope. They're trying to make Kamala look bad. So it's like this grand international conspiracy of corporations from around the world that have decided to cause inflation, to raise their prices in unison, in order to make life more difficult for the average citizen. But luckily there is hope. There is hope. If Kamala gets in office, like I understand she is going to cut down on price gouging, right? So she is going to do something that no other country in the history of mankind has thought about doing. I mean, the government could have always done it, and apparently, like, there's no economic consequences for doing it, which is to fix prices, right? So, like, you're basically just telling the free market, all right, you're not allowed to sell more than this. And I just don't understand, like, why didn't other countries think about this? I mean, how many years of human history do we have? And yet no one, at no point, ever thought about telling companies, yeah, like, this is the top amount that you're allowed to sell this product. You can't sell it for more than this. But luckily, she came up with the idea. Like surely it's not going to have any sort of economic consequences. Or surely it's not going to cause any problems down the line. I mean, she's got the best experts that the United States have to offer. Yeah, imagine if someone told you you can only sell your house for $50,000. No more than that, because that's what we consider it's a fair price. And no one is allowed to sell their house for more than 50 grand. Do you think like this may have like a couple of economic consequences? Like, do you think like this might be impactful in some way, somehow? Maybe it will change the economy at some level? See, here's my question. Like, if you're a guy that produces, I don't know, bread, right? And the government fixes the price. Now, let's say that in a couple of years, the price for making the bread is actually more expensive than what you're selling it, right? So you're working now as a slave, basically. You're making a product and you're investing more in the product than you're allowed to buy. So like, what are you going to do? Well, there's two things, like communist nations figured this out. Number one, people start fleeing the country. Like, they're taking their bakery and they're going to Mexico, or they're just producing in the United States and they're selling somewhere else. In which case the government says, okay, well, you're not allowed to do that, and then people go out of a business. And then the government has to force people to work in order to keep producing the product, because at the end of the day, you see, bread is actually essential, so like people actually need it or they stop. And this is what happened in a lot of communist nations. And like the worst thing that the communists do ever in every country is price fixing, especially when you start fucking with the agriculture. But again, these are very high-level conversations because Americans don't learn about this in school. Like, they're not told about any of these things. So most voters don't know. Like, it sounds plausible, right? Like, it sounds legit. It's like, at the end of the day, you're going to the supermarket and the prices are up, right? So you're blaming the supermarket because that's what you're thinking. It's like, why is the supermarket selling things so expensive? It makes no sense. And then you have, like, a politician saying, yeah, we're going to cap the prices. And you, as an average person that has absolutely no idea on how economy works, or doesn't know that other nations have tried doing similar things in the past, you're going to say, well, I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable. That's so nice. Like, the supermarket is not going to jack up the price anymore. And this is what they're banking on, and it's not stupid people or idiots or anything like that. It's misinformed people, and they're misinforming on purpose. Because I have looked at the American media. I read every single day. I read Business Insider. I read CNN. I read MSNBC because it's my job. And I don't see articles that are actually training people and trying to teach them on how the economy works. They're not trying to teach them about logistics or finances or anything. Most of the news is just there to cause emotional reactions. But they're not there to inform people. And that's really sad. So this is why Kamala can get away with that. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.